Very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Flux Motorsport TV, live and direct here at a very wet and drizzly Nurburgring for the round 6 of the Flux Motorsport Touring Car Championship. We are actually at the sprint circuit for a bit of a change-up compared to previous seasons, and as you can see, all drivers looking to try and get out early in the wet qualifying session. 20 minutes of qualification to come, followed by 45 minutes, with the rain not looking like it's going to ease off too much. Have just been running a practice session, which is the reason why we're just a couple of minutes behind schedule here, with most drivers achieving around about 1:37 to a 1:39 in their lap times. But consistency is going to be key to try and get success here on what is a very, very tricky circuit in the wet at this time of the year. Surprisingly as well, the fastest lap in practice was actually set by a BMW, so keep your eyes out on DJ Leggy. Let's have a look at him at the moment. He is in that IBAC BMW with the yellow stripes. Keep an eye out for 74 Leggy as well with the red decaled IBAC. But looks as though he's actually around about the mid-pack. Let's bring up the map and see whereabouts he is. Yeah, he's got quite a few cars ahead of him. Wonder who managed to get out at the front. Looks like Jack Menzies there at the back of this grid. We have got drivers just about to start their first hot lap, and it looks as though Wadge is actually getting this one rolling off to start the day. Whilst we check out Wadge's first hot lap, we just see a little bit of a lock up there coming down into Haaghagen. But Wadge actually had a bit of a disappointing run, only managing to pick up 7th last week at Oschersleben, and not seeing him drop down a position, down into 4th place in the championship standings. We will have a little run through from that, but if you want to see it for yourselves, then do be sure to head on over to any of our social media pages, where we bring you all of the latest news and updates regarding all of the championships and goings on here at Flux Motorsport. You'll find us on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram for all of that. Well, Wadge will definitely be looking to try and make an improvement just to make sure that he doesn't miss out on that podium finish come race 8 of the season for the final race. Of course, the top 3 finishers within any of our championships will be guaranteed a seat in the upcoming season. But just in case you did miss that race at Oschersleben, I'll give you a brief update. We had Pro Fubby picking up his back-to-back triple crown, so we managed to pick up the fastest lap, the pole position and the race victory at Oschersleben. And that's really cemented his place in the top spot of the championship standings. So Pro Fubby currently in first position on 166 points. Just behind is the console in second position. You can see Wadge there getting his fast lap in, 136.8 as well. That is looking pretty darn quick in these conditions. See Spankmeyer there just setting the next quickest lap. The rest of the drivers coming in and around about the 137 mark. Pro Fubby actually struggling slightly with the 138.7. And there is DJ Leggy, just 0.02 of a second away from him at the moment, making that BMW sing today, DJ Leggy. So it's going to be very interesting indeed come race time, especially with the pace that BMW can usually get off the line. It's going to be a big sprint down to Haaghagen, trying to get the optimum line, avoid all trouble, and then try and build up as much of a gap as possible. As I was saying though, in regards to the championship standings, the console in second place on 125 points. His second place finish at Oschersleben has managed to keep him in the running. And Jack Menzies has moved up one position into third in the championship. Currently on 109 points, he finished 6th last week. Have already touched on Josh, aka Wadge, in 4th place on 106 points. And then Al Axon has moved up into 5th place on 99 points following Lecky's rotten week last week, finishing down in 11th place. Lecky's now moved down into 7th. Kofkarl is in 6th in between Al Axon and Lecky, currently residing on 92 points. And then we can look towards our newcomer. We're currently on screen with him at the moment, Spankmeyer in the number 65 SRT. Running very well indeed, considering he only joined us in week 3. quickly moved up the order with some great finishes, and he'll be looking to try and build upon that as well. Currently on the second row in the qualification session, but anything can happen in the next 15 minutes. In ninth place, we've got DJ Leggy, currently in second on the grid order in this qualification session. We'll see whether or not he can make an improvement. In fact, let's have a little look over to DJ Leggy. I think I just saw him spun out actually on Hoghagen. He's just returning back to the track. He's going to have to wind up this lap once again. 10th position in the standings is Old Smokey. A few good run in races. Not really last week. He actually finished 12th at Oschersleben, but in the British GP circuits, a few good run-ins saw him bolt right up the championship order. And then 74 Leggy. He is in 11th place after being absent last week. His points have taken a bit of a hit, but he returns this week and he looks to try and build upon it. Then our newcomer, or I say newcomer, he's actually featured in the previous two races, but Wardy now has a permanent seat after Casey Redwood has retired for the season. His points have been added. He currently sits on 32 points, and he'll be looking to try and build upon that for a strong finish to the second half of the season. Green Gaming then in 13th place on 28 points, followed by Porsche Man in 14th on 16 points, and then Deadly Hawk, who's had a miserable run of form, currently only on 4 points. He'll be looking to try and build upon that as much as possible, but has finished last in the last few races. So that is our championship standings as they lie. Currently in the session we can see Wadge up in pole position, DJ Leggy in second with Spankmeyer in third. Then the console has been able to drag his way up into fourth, followed by Jack de Menzies in fifth place. And Wardy currently in sixth. 74 Leggy unable to quite get the pace that is his young son has been able to get out of the car. He's about 7/10 off that. I think they're both running on the same setup as well, so bragging rights go into the younger of the two Leggies so far in this session. Kovkarl, Alax and Lecky look as though they're struggling to get their usual sort of pace due to the weather conditions, and as well with Pro Fubby currently 2.2 seconds off the lead. He'll just coming out the pits though, so he is going to try and build upon that, maybe making some final adjustments to the setup, but definitely cursing my name because of the weather conditions here at Nurburgring. Green Gaming's actually running okay, better of the back runners, currently qualifying ahead of Porsche Man Old Smokey. But Deadly Hawk is actually topping out that little group at the back, currently in 12th position. He'll look to try and build upon that. He had a dreadful start at Oschersleben, not sure what happened. Don't know whether or not he missed the green light or what. I don't think there was any contact, but he was very, very slow coming into the first corner. And if you did miss that race, or any of the races that we've had so far in this season, or in any of the other championships that we run here at Flux Motorsport, don't forget you can go over to our YouTube channel and you'll be able to find out all of the previous seasons from both 2020 and 2021's Season 1 on there in their playlist orders. But for now, we'll focus on this one. 11.5 minutes to go inside the qualification session. Let me know your predictions for the race. I'm just loading up the YouTube channel now so I can check out all of your comments. But if you want to make sure that you don't miss out on any of our content or races, don't forget you can hit that subscribe button. Also hit the little bell icon as well to make sure that you get any notifications when we come online. But we do run at 8 PM for all of our championships. It's just depending on whether or not you're in the UK or Eastern Standard Time zone. So DJ Leggy is going to have to improve even more. It does look as though Wadge has come out and he's gone a few tenths quicker. He's now got over 3 tenths lead to his nearest rival in second place. Looking strong for a pole position here, Wadge. Let's have a little focus on Pro Fubby. I think he's just winding up. In fact, I think this will be his first hot lap after leaving the pits. You can hear the car actually struggling for grip out there, spinning up the wheels. Just brought on the speedo so we can try and have a little look at how delicate he's having to be both on throttle and on brake. It's going to be gently around this circuit. He dares wins, but he who keeps it on the black stuff, pointing in the right direction, is going to be the winner today, provided that he can keep it going in the right direction with enough pace. And it's whether or not those qualification times are going to slip away. We're looking like it's going to be around about 27, maybe even 26 laps if the pace does improve. But I do expect it to get worse and worse as this weather does continue to come on down. No pit stops, I don't think. I think there's going to be enough fuel in the cars to get through it. And I don't think tyres are going to be required, but I've been proven wrong before and I could be proven wrong again. Fubby though crosses the line. No improvement that time. He's gone about a second down. And it is going to be harder to try and get the faster laps in. Looks as though Wadge is actually contrary to that. But he has managed to make an improvement. The lap counts are all looking slim though. Plenty of adjustments going in. We focus now on Wardy, our newcomer to the permanent lineup. You can see he's had a little bit of aerodynamic adjustment onto the front of that Renault. It's not hampering him though. He's keeping his foot planted in. He's going to continue on with another lap, but he is 2 seconds down that last time around, so that does suggest that maybe that damage came in that last lap that he's just run. Whilst we've got a little bit of time, we'll try and keep an eye out on all of the qualification running orders. But let's have a little run through about where we're currently at this week in Flux Motorsport. The next race is going to be hosted by Lecky, who's currently running in 10th position. That will be the GT1s on Thursday evening, 8 PM UK time. And the GT1 drivers will be heading over to Brno for what is going to be a very challenging lap if the current weather predictions ring true. We're also looking like we're going to have a bit of wet weather in the Czech Republic for the Brno GP. We see there Wardy just unable to break in time, goes straight into the wall, and that is going to be a strong feature of today's race with any major lockups. Friday night sees the American Supercar Series GTEs taking on Watkins Glen. That comes live and direct 8 PM Eastern Standard Time. It's around about 1 PM UK time, so at 1 AM UK time. So if you're still wide awake on a Friday night, be sure to catch the GTEs ripping it around Watkins Glen. Saturday sees the LMP2s around Circuit of the Americas for their GP circuit. That comes live 8 o'clock UK time. And then the IndyCars precedes that, 8 PM Eastern Standard Time. They're also taking it around Watkins Glen this week. And then Sunday is GTE and Stock Car Series time. The GT3's taking on Rapuna Park, I believe, for this one. That's going to be a very challenging circuit as well, but slim chances of rain. We are in summer, or just coming to the end of summer in that part of the world, so it should at least be pretty dry. And then the stock cars are taking on Watkins Glen short track, so that's going to be very challenging for what is a very tough car to drive around any circuit, let alone one as perilous as Watkins Glen short. But back onto the touring cars for round 6. Wadge is still in pole position, DJ Leggy still in second place. Spankmeyer is ahead on the second row, with the console coming in right behind. Jack de Menzies, who we're currently looking in, that number 4 Zavima Renault, is in 5th place, just ahead of Wardy in 6th. Wardy running in the number 66 SRT. Then 74 Leggy in 7th, with Kofkarl in 8th, Al Axon in 9th. He'll be looking to try and make all of his improvements when the race begins, it seems, really struggling to try and get those laps together. I think as the pace has slowed down, as the rain has continued to build up through this qualification lap, it's going to be really tough. I think it's more just a case of getting your race trim practice in for the remainder of this session, unless you know that you can build upon some mistakes that you've made. Lecky in 10th position, ahead of Pro Fubby in a surprising 11th. Then Deadly Hawk in 12th, Green Gaming in 13th, Porsche Man in 14th, Old Smoky in 15th. But 5 minutes to go. Anything can happen in those 5 minutes, but we can see the pace is really dropping away from most of the cars out on track. Let's have a look over to our current pole sitter in the Hakeen Renault Megane. That is Josh romping it ahead. Did great to improve upon that first hot lap. Let's have a look at how much he's struggling. We'll jump into the cockpit and I'll just knock the interface off just so you can see any counter steering that's going on through the loss of grip. Remember, this is a front wheel drive car, so he should be able to get that power on as soon as his car's pointing in the right direction. You can hear him onto the power pretty early. Bring back up the interface so you can have a look at the speed he's managing to take. So hard as well for anybody that's used to the Nurburgring GP circuit to remember this right-hand turn. Because on Ding Dong, I think it's pronounced. Apologies to any German watchers. But yeah, that hairpin thrown in there to bypass the second sector of the Nurburgring GP. You need to really concentrate on it. All of your instincts from racing the full GP circuit want you to turn left at that particular point. After that, it's pretty much the GP circuit. So after you come out of the arena, you take that hairpin, you're then into the final sector, ready for the chicane. You can see such a cautious approach to that. It'll be early onto the power, ripping it, and drivers dragging it all the way up into here, down into third gear. In fact, it looks as though Wadge benefiting from second, riding the limiter, making use of all the track, and then round again for another lap. So no improvements are being made. Looks as though we've got DJ Leggy now in race trim. You can see there from the fuel indicator he's currently running about 45 litres of fuel at the start of this one. Just getting used to the balance and feel of that car. That's always a wise choice. Little God predicting a bit of a mess on this one. Fingers crossed it's going to be the best sort of mess, where it's most drivers sort of at the whims of their own decisions. Last thing we want is for a car to lock up and cause a multi-car pile-up, but we'll wait and see. It's been a very clean season in the touring cars this season, and we have had some pretty challenging conditions as well, so all drivers have been able to rise to it. But it is going to be very, very interesting heading into Hoghagen for turn one. Very tricky corner at the best of times, let alone in perilous conditions where wheel lockups might just send you in a straight line for that very, very tight right-hander. 2 minutes remaining, no movers and shakers. It looks as though the grid is pretty much cemented at this point. The track too wet to make any big improvements. We can see there from the split time indicator how much DJ Leggy has actually lost out at. You can see there the peril of a BMW as the rear just comes around. That's going to be a problem in some stages of this one. They're going to have to be very, very cautious on power. And there's the issue as well with a front wheel drive. Complete understeer for Spankmeyer there, coming through the arena. Just drive straight on, and it's going to be very, very tricky indeed. I do expect the pace in the race to really come down with drivers taking it cautiously. It does look as though from the weather radar that we are due for a little bit of a reprise from the rain. It is looking to be a bit of a dry spell. I don't expect the track to dry off though. These touring cars not really generating enough heat through the speed that they're travelling at to really clear off that rain in any sort of large swathes. Wet lines are still going to be prevalent. They're just going to get a little bit drier. 1 minute to go though. As I've already stated, looks as though the race lineup is pretty much full featured. We're just tracking around with the console, who's also running in race trim fuel. And about 53 laps it looks as though he's got in. I'm just pulling on my telemetry just to see how much fuel usage these cars are currently getting. I don't think it actually gives me the stat. No, it certainly isn't. Not accurately anyway, so I'll leave that statistic. But these touring cars do come equipped with pretty large fuel tanks and can usually get through 45 minutes of racing. Of course, they are going to be going slightly slower, which means that the fuel usage is going to creep up. But we'll wait and see whether or not we get anybody in the pits. Final 5 seconds of qualification, and then once our drivers cross the line, we'll be lining up our grid along with the usual 2 minutes worth of tinker time, and then we're going to get this round under action. Round 6 here in the FMTCC. Giving you all the action all season long in the touring cars. What a season it's been as well. Pro Fubby, despite his current position, is in a very good place to try and pick up the championship in just the next couple of races. This one could be a game changer though, and we also have Monaco yet to come. The next race is actually going to be Circuit de Catalunya over in Barcelona. Keep your eye out on the weather predictions for that on Monday evening, just to try and see what we've got in store. And then the final week of the season, we're going to head over to Monaco. For the first time in the touring cars, it's going to be quite interesting indeed, as the final of our cars now crosses over the line, just focusing on 74 ledge. And look at the state of that IBAC BMW, really struggling. Looks as though we're going to practice his pit lane entry. Always a good plan for anybody competing in sim racing. Always practice your pit lane entry. The last thing you want to do is pick up a huge time penalty by misjudging your braking. But that is the qualifying session over. There's been no movement at all. So Wadge picks up his pole position for the Nurburgring sprint. Just bringing up my statistics now. I think that might be his first pole position of the season. It is indeed. So fair play to Wadge. He got it very early on and also made improvements on it. DJ Leggy does enough to secure second place on the grid, followed by Spankmeyer in third and the console in fourth. Jack de Menzies in fifth place, ahead of Mr. Ward, or Wardy as I'll be referring to him throughout the race. Then 74 Leggy in seventh place, just unable to try and get together that initial starting pace as DJ. Kovkarl in 8th position, ahead of Alaxon and Lecky in 10th. Pro Fubby in a surprising 11th place, just struggling to cope with these weather conditions. Deadly Hawk in the final of the BMWs in 12th place, ahead of Green Gaming, with Porsche Man in 14th and Old Smoky making it up at the back of the grid. So as I mentioned, 2 minutes worth of tinker time for the drivers. Just get their setup set. Pit strategies all set up. They're going to be very crucial for this one. Let's just have a little focus on our drivers. There is Wadge in his 25 for Keen. DJ Leggy in the number 68 IBEC BMW. Spankmeyer in the 65 SRT, ahead of the console in the number 8 Actual Vision. Jack de Menzies in the number 4 Zavima Motorsport, ahead of Wardy, who is Spankmeyer's teammate in the number 65 SRT. 74 Leggy in the 67 IBAC, ahead of Kovkarl in the number 20 PCCF. Al Axon in the number 12 Air Bubbles car, ahead of Lecky's number 2 Momo Course. Pro Fubby in the number 55 Imochi, ahead of Deadly Hawk in the number 72 BMW. Green Gaming in the number 67 Monster Energy, ahead of Porsche Man in the number 53 Cavoul Motorsport, and then Old Smoky in the number 7 Actual Vision at the back of the pack. So we're all lined up, ready to go here. 45 seconds worth of tinker time. Then we're going to be getting ready for the green light here at the Nurburgring. Let me know your predictions for the race. And whilst you're at it, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Does look as though we're suffering a little bit of a delay here in terms of the stream perhaps, so apologies if our broadcast is being interrupted. Hopefully you're all still here, but with 5 seconds left to go, here we are ready for the green light. All eyes on DJ Leggy in that BMW, known to get away good. There is the green light and away they go. Looks to be a bit of a hampered start as he spins up the rear wheels, but the BMW always has the drive on the Renault Megane, so he steps up into first place. Wadge trying to fall back in line, maybe just going for that optimum line indeed as we head down into the first corner. Hopefully all the way clean. As we see, I think it was Wardy maybe coming together with Jack de Menzies. In fact, it would have been Spankmeyer as we see a big bit of contact there between Lecky, I think it was, in the Momo Corsa, and maybe Leggy. Does look as though they got through all right, just trading paint it seems. but we can also notice from that Old Smoky moving up 3 positions. As we see a big nudge there from Pro Fubby into the back of Lecky. Looks as though they've all kept it together, and it looks as though we've got a bit of a concertina going on. Wadge, meanwhile, has taken first position back from DJ Leggy. DJ Leggy's actually falling down into third, now 4th position. The console moving up on Jack Menzies into 2nd. So it's all go here at Nurburgring Sprint, exchanging position in just the first 2 or 3 corners. So Wadge leads the race ahead of the console. He's got about 1.5 seconds. We can see all of the field in the rear of the screen there, all putting on a bit of a brave show so far. Nobody looks as though they've majorly lost out, except for Al Axon, falling all the way down to 15th position with 11.5 seconds away from the lead. We will try and focus on him once this pack starts to group out a little bit. But for now, just to try and see whether or not he's got any damage, we can see big battles going on there in the background between Kovkarl and I think it might have been Pro Fubby, Lecky and Wardy. Let's have a little look at that. Kovkarl has moved up. He manages to take him on the final corner. Looks as though 6th place is his, but Pro Fubby definitely not going to give it up without a fight. They're going to drag their way down into Hoghagen. And we can just see there, right in the background, Al Axon and that lead. That gap that he's got to the next in line. Big move there from, who was that? I think it was Wardy. Maybe just losing control, unable to make the brakes. Luckily managed to avoid all of the drivers, but that puts him down into 14th position. Huge mistake there into turn 1 from Wardy. So we've got Kovkarl stemming off Pro Fubby at the moment. Pro Fubby's made up huge grounds compared to his qualification position. He is currently in 7th. Looks as though he's about to overtake Kovkarl or undertake him into the next corner up the right-hand side. Is he going to be able to hold it? It's a big swept right-hander. Looks as though he's got the drive from it. Gives enough room to Kovkarl as well, and that might just allow Kovkarl to gain into the next corner. It's definitely not over yet, though, as we head into Warsteiner. Kovkarl, with the advantage, continues to hold on to 6th place. And look at Old Smoky. Let's just focus onto him as we see Porscheman there in the background getting into the kitty litter. Now on board with Old Smoky. Look how wet it is. Sprayed tails coming up all over the place, really hampering the vision of these drivers. But you can see in front that is Spankmeyer and Lecky duking it out for 8th position. And it looks as though Spankmeyer making a bit of a mistake, and that allows Old Smoky to move up into 9th position. Meanwhile, up near the front, Jack Menzies is closing up, I believe, on the back of the console, not too far away. Is DJ Leggy as well. 74 Leggy also benefiting from some of the mistakes that were made ahead of him. He's made up a huge number of positions from his qualification place, currently sitting in 5th place ahead of the DJ Leggy. Did look as though Kovkarl made a bit of a mistake there going into Hoghagen. Just caught it in the background, and that's allowed Pro Fubby momentarily to take 6th place. He's since taken it back, so those two really on for a duke out battle, I think, today. We're only 4 minutes into this race. We've had so many changes in position so far. Touring cars not disappointed in any of the races this season, but I do believe that this one is going to be an absolute thriller. So we see there, Jack Menzies just having a little sniff around the back of the console, having a look left and right, just trying to force an error onto the veteran driver in the pink Actrol Vision car. Not unsettling him too much. Meanwhile, looks as though Lecky is still stemming off Old Smoky. Old Smoky is since ahead of Green Gaming. Green Gaming looks as though he's putting on a little bit of pressure here on the back of Old Smoky. Just having a look, the last lap from Wadge was actually the fastest lap of the race, a 1:38.7, which is blisteringly quick race pace. You can see now Jack Menzies getting impatient, having a look up the inside, and now he's deciding to go around the outside of Coca-Cola. Not able to get it done, and that's put him really into the firing line of DJ Leggy. So this is going to be an exciting drive into turn 1. Let's see whether or not anybody's going to dip down the inside, put their trust in their brakes, and see whether or not they can make the move. Looks as though all of them sensible to it, knowing that there's 40 minutes worth of racing here. Does look as though 74 Leggy having a little bit of a look, but thinks better of it, falls back in line, and will live to fight another again as our drivers take it around the arena. section of the circuit. Let's have a little look down to some of the sort of second pack, I suppose. Two packs have formed up inside this race. Meanwhile, Waj has built up an exceptional lead, 5 seconds so far ahead of the console. We'll just focus on Lecky though, and how he's managing to hold off Old Smoky so far. So that is Spankmeyer in his SRT that you can see ahead, and then the 4 cars behind is Green Gaming, Old Smoky, and Wardy. Green Gaming has just made up another position. He moves up into 10th now. Old Smoky is now going to come under pressure from Wardy and Alaxon, who's since made up a couple of positions. He was running at the back. He's since been able to overtake Porscheman and Deadly Hawk. Deadly Hawk has really plummeted away on the pace, currently 38 seconds away from the leader, and almost 16 seconds away from the back of this pack that we're currently tracking. Back up to the front runners though, in that battle between the console and Jack de Menzies. Battle for second place this, remember, but we've got 4 cars, maybe even 5, 6 cars waiting in the wings just to try and take that from them should there be any mistake made. The console though keeping his head on his shoulders and not yet ready to give it a wobble, and we can see there DJ Leggy just having a little look up the inside. I think we're going to see that move being planted when the or if the track does start to dry out, but there's no signs of it at the moment. The rain's still coming down here in Nurburgring. Oh, and a little mistake there from Jack. He just got a bit of snap understeer, it seemed. Corrected it with oversteer, but that's going to put him in the clutches of DJ Leggy now. Let's have a little focus on that one. We go over to the number 68 IBAC of DJ Leggy. Doesn't look as though he's been able to put the power down, but Jack de Menzies just struggling ever so slightly to keep control of this rather wild car in these weather conditions. So Wags leads the race by almost 6 seconds. The console in second, Jack de Menzies in third, and then DJ Leggy in 4th place here. Has been able to build up a little bit of a gap ahead of 74 Leggy, but not enough for comfort. There you can see the gap. It looks to be about 4, maybe 5 car lengths with that BMW. Kovkarl is in 6th, still keeping on the pressure on the back, and Profobie has since moved up into 7th place in what is looking like it could be a really good recovery drive. 1 minute 40.7 being set by Profobie. And certainly holding on to plenty of pace. Little move there from Jack de Menzies on the console. Really trying to make his presence known and unsettle the veteran in that Actrol Vision car. Not yet ready for it at the moment as the console moves up to the inside, just trying to disrupt that slipstream. Jack de Menzies having a look up the inside. He's going to try and do it under brakes into Haaghagen. Is he going to be able to put the power down? Doesn't look as though he is. The console continues to hold that 2nd place. That track knowledge just paying dividends there for both drivers. Jack de Menzies knowing that he can actually make that move stick, and the console knowing that he can run a little bit deep but get that power down especially early because he hasn't got the tight entry angle of the corner. Jack de Menzies just running a little bit wide on that. He'll have to watch out. I think the race director will relax the track limit conditions a little bit just because of these weather conditions, but the console runs a little bit deep there into Kazambindung, I think it's called. Into the hairpin. I'm just going to refer to it as the hairpin for the rest of this one. It is the only hairpin in this sprint circuit, but that has allowed Jack de Menzies to come through, holding onto it through Warsteiner. A little bit of a nudge maybe there, and the BMWs are hot on the tail, looking to try and perform in their native home country. Console looks as though he's going to try and hold on to the inside line here, coming up into the chicane. Is he going to be able to do it onto the brakes? He doesn't. He falls back in line. And that's just allowed him a little bit of breathing room for our current 2nd place holder in the form of Jack de Menzies. Kovkarl, meanwhile, has been able to build up onto the back of the BMWs as they've had to slow for the traffic ahead. And it's going to be first one to make a mistake. Definitely loses out in this pack of 5 cars. Best of the rest, let's have a look over to those. Lecky is holding off Spankmeyer, currently in 8th position. But you can see there, both Green Gaming and Alaxon currently duking it out for 10th place. Alaxon will be keen to try and finish on this one. He doesn't want to fall too far down in the running order. See there, Lecky just squirreling a little bit on the front. It looks as though he's locked up his front wheels a couple of times there, struggling to maintain clean braking through it. I think pumping the brake pedal just to try and get the wheels to stop locking up. But he's managed to do it so far. He is just coming under increased pressure though, so we'll keep an eye out on this one as they come out of the arena into the hairpin. You're going to see any further braking mishaps from our man in the Momo Corsa. Looks as though that one is much cleaner as he takes a couple of corrective measures, but we are getting a big puddle forming up on the inside line on the apex there of the hairpin. That's going to prove very hazardous indeed if that does start to build up. The middle line is certainly not the optimum one on that one. We see Lecky there running a little bit wide, dicing with death onto the grass, but it's managed to work for him through Warsteiner. He continues to keep up the pace as the three cars in the back just try and benefit from any slipstream that they can. Fastest part of the circuit this, it's going to be pretty flat out up until the chicane. Hear them ragging those gearboxes down, and Lecky makes a bit of a mistake into the chicane. That is probably going to be a slowdown penalty. I think he's probably going to take this one on the chin, just take the time penalty and make sure that he doesn't lose out on what would probably be 4 positions. We bring up the timing boards, no penalties to speak of so far though. Back over to our runnings for second place. Jack Demenzi still holding off the console. And it looks as though they've been able to build up a little bit of a gap now to the BMWs right behind them. The two Leggies around about 1 second or so off the rear of the console. So not much of a gap to speak of. We've got McToasty on the stream, who you'll recognise from the presenter in our GT1s and GT3 championships. Recognising that the Leggies are doing very well in the BMWs, they certainly are. This is not the sort of conditions that you want to be in a rear-wheel drive car, but they're certainly making it work for them at the moment. The pace is looking very, very consistent in that 140 boundary. Both the console and Wadge, though, currently creeping around the 139s, and that is exceptional pace in these pretty tricky conditions. Does look as though the rain is just easing off ever so slightly around that sort of middle sector 2 of the circuit. Coming back into the end of sector 3 and sector 1, does look as though it's still raining as we see Deadly Hawk there into the pits. Doesn't look to be too much damage on that one. It could well be suspension damage, but yeah, into the pits for Deadly Hawk. Could be a change of tyres maybe. Maybe he's burnt them out a little bit. Not too sure what's going on, but that's going to cement him definitely into last position. Most drivers will not be making a pit stop in this race. Let's flick on back over to our mid-pack battle. Does look as though Lecky has since made a mistake. He's dropped down 2 positions. Spankmeyer now in 8th place ahead of Al Axon. Al Axon all over the exhaust pipes of Spankmeyer. Having a little look around the outside, and this could be very similar to what we saw between Jack Demenzies and the console. Looks as though Al Axon just looking for that cutback, it seemed. Thinking better of it and then aiming for the apex. And they're just running a little bit wide onto the artificial grass. That's going to be very tricky, and oh, a big rear end shunt there from Al Axon. Don't know whether or not he was hit himself by Lecky. Lecky there is definitely getting a few bumps together. Don't forget, in these sort of conditions, slamming on the brakes is not going to do anything apart from make your car lock up its wheels and put you in an uncontrollable slide. Fingers crossed there's not too much damage into Spankmeyer, but it does look as though he's sustained some really struggling there into the hairpin. And that's going to allow Lecky to come on through, perhaps, maybe not. Lecky there looking very wild on the rear end. I wonder if Lecky's picked up some damage as well. We could well see some more drivers into the pits here for damage repairs to come through Warsteiner. Let's have a look at the rear of that Momo Corsa, that yellow and black livery car of Lecky. See a couple of dry little sections, and the rain has stopped now in this final sector. All of the water that you're seeing is just spray from the track. The rain has actually stopped coming down, so we may just start to get a bit of an ease off. Maybe get those temperatures into the rear tyres, maybe some into the front as well. Luckily the rain is not going to be held off for too long. If it was, those front tyres would start to overheat as the rain cleared, but I don't think it's going to happen clouds are still looming here over the Nurburgring circuit, and we are forecast for some rain in the sort of final period of this race. See there, looks as though Green Gaming's gone very, very uncontrollable. He luckily manages just to catch it to make sure they didn't collide with the drivers ahead of him. Lost that and just managed to hold on to it. So 29 minutes into this race, Wadge has now got over 8 seconds lead to the second place of Jack de Menzies. The console in third, not too far away from the back of Jack, and then DJ Leggy in fourth, followed by 74 Leggy with a bit of breathing room. You see Lecky there just getting a little bit wide on the exit of turn 4. Sorry, I beg your pardon, turn 3. Spankman, I can't help but think he's maybe got a little bit of damage, as we see a couple of retirements here. Not sure whether or not it was disconnects. I looked down on my telemetry screen for a second. It does look as though we've lost Deadly Hawk from the running order. Just trying to work out who else we've lost as well. Old Smokey, it seems, is also out of this, so Old Smokey's good run of form is definitely going to be hampered by a DNF. Disaster if it is a disconnection, as we see, bit of wild driving there from Spankmeyer. That's made him lose 2 positions as Green Gaming moves on through into 10th place, Lecky into 9th. Sorry, I've just switched over to Profubby. Didn't mean to do that. I actually meant to flip on over to Lecky as he tries to hold off the rest of these cars. We can see there's no spray whatsoever on the start-finish straight. Back into spray, and you can see how much it's affecting the braking coming down into turn 1. Green Gaming's car going left and right, just managing to hold its position. But it's getting very, very treacherous into turn 1 as these guys start to push further and further. Let's go back over to our battle for 3rd position in a moment. DJ Leggy has since been able to overtake the console, and it looks as though he's about to make the move as well on Jack de Menzies. Jack de Menzies just managing to hold on to that one. I think DJ Leggy just ran out of track before he encountered that number 4 Zavima. Just had to fall back in line, but it'll be interesting to see what the console's lap time comes up at. Only just losing out on that position. Doesn't look as though if he has made a mistake it's anything too worrying. Doesn't look as though there's any damage to the front of that one, maybe just a little bit of understeer issue. But we come now into lap 13 very shortly. In fact, I beg your pardon, lap 12 now for these runners. It's Wadge with 11 seconds ahead of Jack de Menzies, who's being hounded by DJ Leggy at the moment. Does look as though if our tyre graphic in the top right hand side of your screen is anything to go by, the wet tyres in that BMW are just really struggling for the temperatures. I can't imagine that that's the case. I do imagine that the tyre temps would be a little bit further up, but if he has got those blue stone cold tyres, he's really making it work for him, DJ Leggy. You can hear how ginger he is on throttle. I'll just bring up the speedo so you can see how much he's trying to feather that throttle to make sure that he doesn't light up the rear and put himself into a spin. See, they're very delicate onto the brakes, very delicate little pulses of throttle as they come through the hairpin, and then a gradual build up into the full throttle to try and get that car accelerated towards the back of Jack de Menzies. 25 minutes remaining here in race 6 of the FMTCC. Remember that if you're interested in finding out more about what we do here, in fact, I'm just going to interrupt myself there. It looks as though DJ Leggy just looking up the inside, coming through the back straight. Looks as though he's going to have to fall back in line. But as I was saying, yeah, if you're interested in finding out more about what we do here at Flux Motorsport or joining the community, just head on over to FluxMotorsport.com. You'll also find our shop there with your Flux Motorsport merchandise needs. Also, you can find out how to contact us and the information about the championships as well. Failing that, if you just want the news and information as it happens, be sure to follow us on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram, and of course make sure that you hit that like, subscribe and the notification button on our YouTube channel to make sure that you don't miss out on any of this week or any of next season's content. 25 minutes to go then, or less than now, And it looks as though Wadge has pretty much got this one in the bag. He's got no airtime, so I do apologise to Josh for that. Unfortunately, when you've got such a prevailing lead, that is one of the products of it. As we see a quick exchange of second place there. Looked as though DJ Leggy had it hooked up through the arena, just ran a little bit deep into the final corner of the arena complex. And Jack Menzies just taking that place right back. You can see there the BMW avoiding that puddle on the apex. Does look as though the front wheel drive Renaults are able to pretty much plough through it without too much concern, but you can hear the balance of throttle as they come through these sections just to try and make sure that the rear end doesn't step out, and that power is down pretty early on the BMW. It's going to fall back in line, try and benefit from any slipstream as the rain starts to come down here again in Nurburgring, and that is probably going to be us for the rest of this race. Does look as though it's only in that final section for now, but does look as though we're going to have a rain-laden racetrack for the last part of this race. Let's have a look at what's going on a little bit further down. Looks as though Green Gaming's coming under some increased pressure from Wardy. Wardy, very fast driver, currently lapping around about the same lap times as Green Gaming, but he'll be looking to try and represent SRT with his teammate of Spankmeyer, currently slipped down into 11th place. Does look as though both Lecky and Spankmeyer have had a bit of a mishap to push them down so much as the running order. Didn't see them come into the pits, and the lap time, their split time certainly doesn't reflect that. We can just see them popping up in the background there of the screen. But both drivers run a little bit deep into turn one. Has given Wardy a slight advantage, but he's not going to be able to build upon it into the arena section. And that battle will continue on. We'll keep an eye on it, but let's head back over to our battle for second. Jack Menzies and the two Leggies in tow. In fact, let's go over to 74 Leggy and jump into the cockpit. Get a good view whilst the spray isn't too bad of their run down into the back straight. You can see puddles formed up on that apex that you're usually kissing. So that's why they're avoiding and taking the sort of outside line through that little kink. Hard onto the brakes, into the chicane. Looks as though DJ Leggy's run a little bit deep into that one. Not been able to make it, and he's going to lose out on that position, I do believe, into the final corner. The brake into Coca-Cola. You see some corrective braking from 74 Leggy there, just to try and make sure he didn't collide with the rear of Jack Menzies. And now 74 Leggy has overtaken his son for third position. Very close driving indeed. I did just see DJ Leggy having a little look up the inside line there. He's thought better of it, and it looks as though he's been able to get a better drive away from the old man. Coming out of turn one. Not quite enough track, or not enough traction on track to try and benefit from it to its fullest extent. So that will continue on, but although they're related, don't make any false assumptions. These two will battle it out to the very end to try and get the bragging rights ready for Sunday lunch. And so far DJ Leggy has got the bragging rights in terms of the championship position. 74 Leggy holding on to the bragging rights so far for the Nurburgring sprint, and it's very, very close indeed. You can see how clean they want to keep it. You saw DJ Leggy just getting hard onto the brakes a couple of corners ago just to make sure he didn't connect with his teammate. And now he has a little look up the inside, trying to get that power down early. So that is DJ Leggy with a yellow decal livery, just trying to make it work up the inside. He has, of course, had to scrub a little bit of speed off by turning towards the right. Meanwhile, the console is just slowly building up the split time differential between these two battling BMWs. Looks as though we've lost another driver. Looks as though Lecky is now out of the running order. So we're down to 12 here. Lecky now out of the race and out of the points, and his season goes from bad to worse. Excuse me. And we've now got Spankmeyer at the back of this grid, trying to build upon it. He's 1 minute and 20 seconds behind the rest of them. He's also lapping very slowly indeed. That does make me suspect he's got some pretty serious damage. Just while we have maybe a little bit of break for this, we will go over to Spankmeyer. In fact, that looks as though it's a good enough time. Yep, you can see some pretty heavy damage to the front and side of the SRT Motorsport Renault Megane, and that does explain why the lap times have completely fallen away. Let's get back to the action though between the top 4 cars. Jump back into the cockpit of DJ Leggy. You can see those spray tails have really started to build up as the rain continues to come down. Gives us a great angle of the attack now of 74 Leggy. Just having a little look up the inside. Lights are on. He does have to avoid the inside of that puddle, so that line is not going to be optimum for him. Let's see what he can do into the braking for the chicane. Slightly lost out on traction out of the chicane there, and that's allowed DJ Leggy just to close up a little bit and for Jack de Menzies to pull away ever so slightly. 18 minutes to go here at round 6 in the FMTCC. If you're only just joining us, don't forget you can hit the scroll bar on the back of that. Join us in for the start of this race. There was so much action going on in the first couple of laps. So many changes in position. Alternatively as well, don't forget that you can catch highlight videos from all of our championships, brought to you by our very busy media team here, usually summarised in less than 15 minutes just to try and catch up on the best of the action in a bit of a bite-sized summary. You'll be able to find those within all of the playlists for each of the championships. As disaster there for 74 Leggy. Maybe got onto the power a little bit too early. Spins the rear around, and that's going to cost him a couple of places. Let's see whether or not he's been able to get it back on track and whether or not he's going to come under pressure from Kovkarl. Certainly going to be increased. I don't think there's any damage to 74 Leggy. Did just make a spin and he did well to get the car facing the right way once again. Back on over to second place though in Jack de Menzies. And his defence against DJ Leggy. DJ Leggy now takes up third place of course after that spin. And with 17 minutes left, he's still just waiting for any mistakes to be made. You can just see the pink actual vision of the console deep in the background there. Currently about 4, maybe even 5 seconds back. So whilst this is split off, let's have a little look at Wardy, who has now taken 9th place away from Green Gaming. I'm not sure whether or not it was recent, but just running down the running order, he's now got that position made, and you can see why. Those last lap times, Wardy actually running over 2.5 seconds quicker than Green Gaming. So it looks as though Wardy's found his pace, and now he just needs to try and build upon his gap to Pro Fubby. He's currently running about a second a lap quicker. Laps are taking just shy of 2 minutes. As we see, Green Gaming actually, he's not done with this one yet. He sends it right up the inside of Coca-Cola. Don't think he's going to be able to get that one stick, but he has got the inside line for Hagen. Now he falls back into line, and both of those drivers actually running a slightly slower lap that last time around. Green Gaming once again having a little look up the inside, thinks better of it, and has to correct himself. Maybe a little lock up of the wheels there, under braking in the final section of that first corner. That's given some more advantage to Wardy up in front. Let's have a look at Wadge, give our current and pretty much permanent race leader for this race. He did start in first place. He was overtaken briefly by DJ Leggy because of the pace off the line from that BMW. He soon took that first place back by turn 3 through the arena section, and he's held it ever since. So Wadge, aka Josh G, running very, very well indeed in that number 25 Hakeem Motorsport Renault Megane, and nobody else in sight at the moment. Let's flick on over to second place though. I just saw a quick change in position, and Jack de Menzies is under even more pressure now from DJ Leggy as the BMW tries to drag him down into first position. Jack de Menzies just closing the door. That is their change of position done, so DJ Leggy moves over to the outside, going to try and maybe opt in for that late apex cut. Is he going to get that one done? Is he going to be able to get the power down? Don't think he is as they come up through arena. Good, clean driving from both of these two drivers. I know for a fact that Jack de Menzies will be desperate to try and get hold of this second place, just to try and boost his podium position. He is currently third in the championship with, what are we looking at here, 16 points behind the console. So this isn't going to see him leapfrog the console by any means. Oh, as he makes a mistake there through the hairpin, that's going to allow DJ Leggy through. Just ran a little bit deep, got onto the kitty litter, and it sees him drop a little bit of momentum. Maybe I should stop talking about in the commentator's curse reigning, prevailing through this season in all championships. So apologies for that when you watch this one back, Jack. But yeah, what I was saying is it's not going to affect the championship position in finishing ahead of the console, but it certainly gets him a little bit closer to a potential top 3 finish. And Jack de Menzies closes that one right back up. Now having a little look up the inside of Coca-Cola. He has to give a little bit of room. He couldn't quite get up alongside DJ Leggy, but DJ Leggy is definitely going to be feeling this pressure. And inside that rather leery BMW, that is going to potentially force an error and allow him to sweep right back on up. See, Jack de Menzies there just having a little look up inside under braking. We see him lock up to both the rear and then the front tyres under braking there, and that's going to give a clear advantage now to DJ Leggy, building up almost a second's worth of split time now, and the console is licking his lips trying to get onto the back of Jack de Menzies for those bragging rights. You can see a bit of corrective steer there coming through the second to last corner in that arena section. Just over 12 minutes to go, and looks as though actually 74 Leggy has been able to recover ever so slightly, and he's now right onto the back of the console. He's lapping around about 6 or 7 tenths quicker, and we can just see him there actually building upon that, piling on the pressure to the pink Actrol vision. So 74 Leggy is far from done in this race. Definitely wants to try and get his mitts on at least a 4th place finish and potentially sweep up any mistakes by the 2nd and 3rd place runners as well. Waj just needs to keep this one on the straight and narrow in order to get it stuck. Still lapping very quick laps, 1 minute 40.456 the last lap around. He still holds the lap record as well, I think, for this race. I'm just trying to bring up the statistic now. Actually, I beg your pardon, the fastest lap of this race so far is currently held by 74 Leggy with a 1:37.616. That is an astronomical lap. I can only assume that that's been done when the track was just starting to dry out, but 74 Leggy has been able to now pass the console, and it looks as though he's also going to get the bonus point as well for the fastest lap, because I can't see this one going any quicker anytime soon with this rain still hammering down. Let's have a little look over. Waj has actually got a 2-second penalty. That is not going to matter anything. He's still going to have around about 13.5 second lead on the back of that. Jack de Menzies, though, does have a 1-second penalty, and that's going to put him right into the clutches of 74 Leggy if he isn't careful. Al Axon as well, all U82 with a 1-second penalty, but they're all the penalties to speak of. See there, Jack de Menzies getting very, very wide as well on the hairpin, picking up a load of grass, maybe getting some mud onto those tyres. That's going to affect his grip over the next couple of corners. Going to be music, or a beautiful sight for the eyes of 74 Leggy. Ten minutes remaining here at the Nurburgring Sprint Circuit for round 6 of the FMTCC. As well, if you missed it earlier on, be sure to check out our live stream 8 PM Thursday, which will be the GT1s at Brno GP Circuit. You'll be able to join Lecky and Toasty in the box for that one. I'll be out on track struggling to try and get that GT1 car around at any sort of pace. Then on Friday, it's the GTEs in the American time zone, 8 PM Eastern Standard Time. They'll be taking on Watkins Glen, followed by the LMP2s on Saturday, 8 p.m. UK time, taking on Circuit of the Americas. And then the IndyCars a little bit later than that, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, taking on Watkins Glen also. GT3s then have their second race at Dubai. They're taking on the smaller of the Dubai circuits this time around, 8 p.m. UK time for that one. And then the stock cars taking on Watkins Glen Short. That's 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you want to make sure that you don't miss out on any of the action, be sure to hit that subscribe button to the YouTube channel that you're currently watching us on, and also hit the notifications as well. Just be sure to make sure that you hit Do Not Disturb for the app so that you're not getting woken up if you're watching in the UK time zone at 1 p.m. for our Eastern Standard Time races. And disaster for 74 Leggy. Spins it round again, takes a little dink in the rear from the console as well on his way round. I think that was the same position as well, coming through the hairpin. And all of that hard work now amounts to naught, unfortunately, for 74 Leggy. He's got to try and pick his head up, though, and make sure that he doesn't come under pressure from Kovkarl. 8 minutes remaining on this one. Kovkarl around about 5 seconds back off the back of 74 Leggy. 74 Leggy lapping much quicker in terms of the lap times though, so he should be able to regroup, give his head a bit of a wobble and try and put in those similar lap times. That is unfortunately the problem with the BMW. When the rear goes, it really goes, and it can be a real struggle to try and catch. As I mentioned earlier though, 74 Leggy does have the added benefit of having a bonus point for the fastest lap. I can't see it being beaten either. I think it was set while the track was just starting to dry out ever so slightly. In the final 7 minutes though, with no door-to-door action going on or bumper-to-bumper, let's have a look over to our race leader. Let's jump into the cockpit of Wadge and see how he's managing to string these laps along. This is him just coming through the arena circuit, I do believe. Oh no, beg your pardon, sorry. He's just come through Michelin and now into Warsteiner. Foot flat to the floor. We're going to see him avoid that apex on the curb. We are indeed trying to make sure he avoids that puddle at all costs. Coming down into the chicane. How late does he dare to brake? Looks around about the 70-yard line. Keep it in third. He actually drops down to second, keeps it right onto the limiter, and then an immediate slam into third place. Got praise being made for 74 Leggy on being able to hold that BMW together and not just completely locking it up and taking out the console. I've got to say I agree on that one. As pirouetting in safety as well as style. Sure, he'd much prefer to avoid it, but he's right back onto the console. Let's just jump over to this. We're now on board with the console. Let's have a look at how close 74 Leggy is. Look at him right back onto the back of there. The console's obviously made a mistake. He's around about 4 seconds off the pace that last lap around. And this one's certainly not done from 74 Leggy. He's definitely got 4th place in his sights, and he's going to push as hard as he can to try and get it in the remaining 5 minutes. Again, apologies to Josh there, our race leader. We got a little bit of time in a slight gap of action. Since all the action's returned and we're back onto it. In the final 5 minutes of this race, it's been non-stop through a little pack of drivers all the way down the field. This has been a sort of continual battle, along with DJ Leggy and Jack Menzies in that mix as well. Also had big battles going on between Kovkarl, Al Axon, and then also Wardy, along with Green Gaming through large periods of this. Spankmeyer has dropped right down. He's since gone into the pits, I do believe, and his lap times have since improved, but the damage was already done there. I can't help but think that perhaps it was a contact with Lecky. We'll have to wait and see on whether or not there's any stupid inquiries raised against that one. The BMW of 74 Leggy versus the Renault Megane of the console. Who's it going to be, folks? Let me know inside the comments section. I know Leggy certainly isn't going down without a fight as he moves up to the inside. It looks as though he's got a little bit more speed as well, and he's going to take this one back. It's just whether or not he's going to be able to hold it into the brakes of turn one. The console going for that swept apex cut, and he certainly made up a bit more time. He's now going to have to go the long way around the arena, though, doing a bit of a cutback through that double left-hander. Holds on to the inside line once again. Little coming together, just trading paint from the two drivers. And the console takes that position back, holds on to fourth for now. He's got a little bit of time as well to try and build upon that. Final 3 3/4 minutes of this race, so we're probably up to the last maybe 2, potentially 3 laps of the Nurburgring sprint here in the wet and drizzly rain. Would of course be a little bit quicker, in fact it'd be much quicker in the dry. Wet weather slowing these cars down just to try and keep the pace consistent but safe. And Wadge has certainly achieved that. Out in first place, he's got 17.3 seconds to his nearest rival of DJ Leggy in the other BMW. And we see there just having a little look up the inside, trying to unsettle the console. The console wise to it. He won't be watching his mirrors. He'll be just trying to focus on the track ahead of him. That's definitely paid off. Managing to build up a big gap between the chicane and Coca-Cola corner there. Let's have a little look about what's going on back here between Kovkarl and Al Axon. These two have been battling all the way through this season, let alone this race. And it looks as though that battle is going to proceed into the final couple of minutes of this race. It does look as though Al Axon has got about 6 car lengths behind. Don't let that camera angle deceive you. It's a bit of a bigger gap than first expected. But as we've seen, it only takes a minor mistake, and that is actually a minor mistake from Kovkarl. Runs a little bit too deep. Manages to keep traction, but that has allowed Al Axon just to close up ever so slightly. Keep an eye out on that one. Meanwhile, let's have a look over to our leader. Wadge is just coming through the back straight here, just about to approach the chicane, I believe. So with 2 minutes left, looks as though we're going to have 2 more laps of this one. So race far but over there, as we can just see the Cavroul, the number 53 Cavroul of Porscheman there in the background. Get back over to the action whilst we've got a couple of laps. We're in the penultimate lap, I believe, for Wadge. This is still going on though, the battle for 4th place, as we see 74 Leggy moves up to the inside of the chicane, under braking. Is he going to get this one to stick? Looks as though he is temporarily, but how's the drive for the console? Oh, a big nudge as well there from the back of it. Looks as though the console, is he going to slow down? Looks as though he's not claiming any fault for that one. The console certainly thinks it's a racing incident. Continues to drive on, and 74 Leggy sees himself drop down into 7th position. Kovkarl and Al Axon moving up a place after that big spin. Couldn't really see from the angle whether or not there was fault to be made there, whether or not it was just maybe a loss of traction on corner exit, but the console certainly wasn't taking any chances, just continued his race. And now can breathe a little bit easier in 4th position, at least until the stewards' inquiry comes in on that one. Got my eye in the sky almost in McToasty, saying that 74 Leggy was also was looking like he was already going round. To be honest, I do think that would be the case. Otherwise, we would usually see the console slowing up if he maybe made a bit too much of a lunge. But I'm sure we'll see it coming on in. So the final few seconds is actually, this could well have been the last lap of the race. I beg your pardon, as Wadge comes around Coca-Cola for the final time. The timer runs out and Wadge crosses the line. That is the race done. Fantastic driving from our man in first place. Wadge in the number 25 Hakim Motorsport Renault Megane absolutely owned it. gets his first pole position of the season. It also sees him on the top of the podium for the second time this season. DJ Ledgy comes across for his best finish of the season so far in second place, and then Jack Menzies in third. Despite the penalty being applied, that is still going to count, I believe. The console comes around the final corner for the final time and finishes up in fourth position. Al Axon looks as though he's got the better of Kovkarl in the end. We'll wait and see whether or not any penalties are being applied. Does look as though it is, as Kovkarl moves up into fifth place. 74 Ledgy finishes in seventh. Pro Fubby now just coming around Coca-Cola corner for the final time. Eighth place finish for Pro Fubby. It's actually an improvement upon his qualification position. He's been able to move up 3 places, but that is certainly going to hurt his championship position. He is still going to be in first place, but that gap is definitely going to have closed up. Wardy finishes ahead of Spankmeyer, his teammate, in the end by a lap, but let's get up those final standings and let's run through them. As you can see, the amount of tyre wear or tyres left on that car, not much whatsoever. So Josh, aka Wadge, finishes the race in first place. He doesn't pick up a triple crown. He does get the pole position points though, so bonus points going over to him, as well as the race victory points, 35 on offer. Don't forget, DJ Ledgy finishes in second, with Jack Menzies in third and the console in fourth. Kovkarl ends up finishing in fifth due to the 1 second penalty being applied to All You 82, aka Al Axon. 74 Ledgy loses out big time with that spin just outside the chicane. Finishes in 7th place, but still not a bad finish at all from the BMW. Pro Fubby in 8th position. It's a bit of a shock to us, but he really wasn't getting on well with this circuit in these weather conditions. Wardy ends up pulling off a bit of a recovery drive in the end for 9th place, ahead of 10th with Green Gaming. Porsche Man does enough for 11th place, ahead of Spankmeyer in 12th. And then Lecky, Old Smoky and Deadly Hawk retiring quite early on. You can see there lap 13 for Lecky, but laps 7 and 8 for Old Smoky and Deadly Hawk. So that is all for round 6 of the FMTCC. It's been a fantastic race, and remember, if you've not caught up on how the season's gone so far, just be sure to head on over to our YouTube channel, where you'll find all of the streams or highlight videos so far for this championship, and of course for all of our other championships as well. We'll see you again live and direct on Thursday for the GT1 Championship. And remember, if you want to know any more information about what it is that we do, or to join our Discord server and get involved in Season 2 of 2021's action, head on over to FluxMotorsport.com, where you'll find all of the information as well as our shop for any Flux merch. I've been Murphy, and that is the start of the week underway, week 6 here at FMTCC. Remember, it's an 8-race season, so we are coming up to the closing sides now, and battle lines are being drawn. Championships are there to be won or lost. I hope you have a great week ahead. We'll see you again on Thursday, as already mentioned, and enjoy your week ahead. Thank you very much, and good night.